Hello. Me and my work. I'm far more interested in how sounds are being heard rather than what those sounds are. Not that I'm not interested in the content, but it's more about people's experiences and how those experiences are shaped acoustically that I'm really interested in. And I approach it from an angle that's, I suppose, based in acoustics and physics, because sounds, although we can't see them, they are a physical thing, and every sound and every note has its own size and its own shape. And we don't just hear them as notes, we hear them because our eardrums are being vibrated, our bodies are feeling those different frequencies. So I'm really trying to explore all of those things and how those things physically affect us and physically affect our eardrums. For example, there's a couple of people exploring this idea that if you resonate the eardrum at certain frequencies, it actually generates its own noises. And our ears do this all the time, we're just not really conscious of them. And a lot of the time those sounds are not at notes which we perceive, or we're perceiving them subconsciously because we're used to ignoring them from when we're really small. So our ears actually can generate sound as well as take sound in. And also we do hear that there's a difference between airborne sounds and structure-borne sounds. And if you hear sounds through like a table or a wall, it travels much faster than if you hear it through the air. And obviously in our ears are lots of bones, and they all vibrate and make up the sounds that we hear. But if we have, of course, a physical sound that we're feeling through our entire bodies, then there's also sound coming through our bodies that way. So for me, sound really is not just about music or different notes on a scale. It's about this physical experience that you can have with it. So I'm not going to talk about my most recent work because I don't think it really reflects what I'm interested in. I'm going to talk about some pieces that I've done where I've collaborated with some musicians. And what we try to do is use the acoustics of a space as an instrument, because every room has a natural frequency that it resonates at, and I'm really interested in the reverb and all the kind of echo that you get, and you can build that up. You can play notes that will encourage that, and these will build up, and then they'll build up overtones with themselves, and you end up with these kind of ringing and pulsing notes that the room is creating. It's like this response to the notes that you're playing is generating sounds in itself. And of course, again, these things get physically felt by people, even if they're not hearing them, because a lot of the time I think people come to my performances and they think that they're hearing what's being played by the musicians. I think they're actually oblivious that half the notes that they're hearing aren't coming from the instruments, they're coming from the room playing those notes back again. So I'm just going to play you a really little bit of one of the pieces I did, which is just 2 violins. And then I'm going to show you some video of a piece that I did with 2 violins and a cello, so that you can get an idea of what we've done. Hopefully. And what you're hearing at the end is the way we work is we go into a space that has a load of echo and reverb, and we experiment and improvise in that space to find out which notes respond best, which have the strongest reaction and create the most resonance. And then through a series of improvisations, I'll basically work out which bits have the strongest effect, but then we'll try to find a way to make it a bit more accessible and make it into a musical composition. Because what I really don't want to do is just take, the acoustic equivalent of electrical droning. So it's trying to work it through something that is musical, so that the room really is just another musician. It's not just a demonstration of the physics, but it's also a piece of music. So that's quite important And I can't work out how to get your CD out of your drive. There we go. So we try to arrange it visually in a way that is, well, you'll see from the video, it's a very small venue, and we need to keep the audience really small because when you put a load of bodies into a really resonant space, it dampens all the sounds. So you lose all of those effects that you're trying to create. So there's always a small audience, but we also want them to be quite close to the musicians so that you feel this real connection with what's going on, and you aren't necessarily certain what you're hearing directly from their instruments, what you might be hearing from the speakers, and what you're hearing from these sounds being bounced around the space. It's about hearing all of those things at once. And although there is a little bit of amplification, 80% of the entire performance is acoustic. It's really about creating these sounds naturally, because all the wonderful things that you can do with electronic music, it still can't recreate what naturally happens with your ears and what naturally happens with architecture and space and the air around us. And they're what I'm interested in. And we do record these performances as 5.1 surround sounds. And when you play them in another environment, it takes on, well, you know, it sort of make-believe takes on the acoustic qualities of the space that it was recorded in. But the experience is so different to when you're there. So although I can show you this video, it's not going to be anywhere near to what it feels like when you're in that space. And that's what I'm really excited about. So it's a bit frustrating for me that I can't really play it to you properly. But come on, play. It doesn't want to play. It's going grey, but it's not playing. Does anybody have any suggestions?
Well, what are you trying to play then? Like
this one here.
The neck player? Try and play in VLC or something.
No, you've got it there.
How do you view the controller? Forgot.
It's down the bottom right.
Oh, it's there, okay. Can't you do it like this?
Yeah, I just want to play this middle one here. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, I won't do full screen because it cuts off a bit because it's in different formats.
Okay.
So. Yeah, I won't do full screen because the ratio is a bit different.
Can you make it louder?
Sorry. So yeah, that's a more intense moment.